and God bless each and every one of you. We want to thank you for the opportunity to come back with us again. This is Dr. Dewan Jackson, and I am the host of Deborah's Voice Talk Show. It's another wonderful Wednesday, and we are elated to share with you another great topic that I believe is going to bless your life. But before we go into our show today, I want you to please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Apostle Dr. Dewan Jackson. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also on Facebook, I want you to hit like. I want you to also hit the button that tells you when we're coming on. Make sure that you share this video as well with as many people as you possibly can and support this show, as we're always wanting to give you topics that will really enhance your life. Last time we talked about purpose, we talked about marriage, we talked about money. Today we have another topic that we're going to be discussing in just a moment, but I just want to talk to you briefly about one of the products that we promote here on Deborah's Voice. On Deborah's Voice, we always want to share with you all this wonderful product, which is our rain pads that we are a promoter of and a seller of. The rain pads are wonderful. We've had so many testimonies, and the testimonials include about the graphing strip that's in these panty liners, that you're able to use them, put them in your shoes for energy. We've also had testimonies of putting them on the pillow underneath the pillowcase to reduce snoring. We've had testimonies of using the graphing strip that's in these pads to put on your head to remove migraines. We've had so many testimonies that have come forth from these particular products. So we want you to use them daily. These are something that you can use as a regular panty liner, or we have multiple other uses as I've named before. Then we also want to remind you of just our regular pads that we have, the moderate flow, the heavy flow, the medium flow, several different options for you. And these pads hold 60 cc's. And I think it's going to be a blessing to you. You'll see that they keep you dry and comfortable. They're not like other products. And again, it has the energy or the graphene in them, so you're not going to feel as weighted down. So, of course, you know, we just want to tell you some of the testimonies that we've experienced. We've heard testimonies of people who had longer menstrual periods being shorted. We've had testimonies of those who have also had periods where they had several intense cramping, but after getting on our product consistently, they've had decrease in those cramping. So we have multiple testimonies, fibroids to go down, many testimonies that have come forth from this product. So remember, it also is a detoxer. It pulls all the toxins out of your body. So it's not something that you just want to try once. You need to try the product 2 to 3 months so you can really see the difference and changes in your body. And I just want you to go to our website at preciouspearls.jewelpads.com. That's preciouspearls.jewelpads.com. And I believe that these products are really going to be a blessing unto you and unto your life. All right, so let's go into our topic for today. Today, we're going to be talking about self-control. All right, today we're going to be talking about self-control. Go tell somebody Deborah's Voice is on, and we are ready to share with you. We are ready to give you insight. We're ready to share a great topic on self-control. Who doesn't need self-control? We all do. In every area of our life, we need self-control. So let's talk about self-control today. Self-control literally is the ability to control oneself, in particular, one's emotions and desires, of their expression and also their behavior, especially in difficult situations, right? Self-control can also be described as self-discipline, self-restraint, right? It can also be described as self-mastery. It can also be described as temperance, right? So when we think about self-control, literally, as I said, it's the ability to control oneself, particularly one's emotions and desires, or the expression of them in one's behavior, okay? So especially in difficult situations, So I want to talk about it because many of us, right, when we think about self-control, we all say that we have it. But how many know many times we exemplify that we don't have self-control in our emotions, in our attitudes, right, in our daily lives, and the things that we consistently do? We have to be conscious that we are working to have self-control. So here's some of the ways that you can improve self-control and to build healthy, good habits in self-control. All right. Anytime you're talking about self-control, remember you're talking about controlling your emotion, right? Controlling maybe your desire, right? Or your behavior, right? In a difficult situation or just in a normal day-to-day situation. So when we think about self-control, one of the greatest things, right, we want to think about removing temptation, all right? Number one of the ways to improve self-control and build good habits is to remove temptation, right? So we know we're not wired to just consistently resist temptation, right? We're not wired to just, remove temptation out of our lives, but we have the capability to build a strong mindset, right? To build a strong mindset that keeps us focused, right? So, if you've got a problem with eating cookies or you struggle with eating ice cream, or you have issues in multiple areas where you feel as though you want to control yourself, then one of the things you're definitely going to do, you won't want to bring them into your house, right? You won't just stock up and have a lot of extra cookies and ice creams and things of that nature. Why? Because it's going to be tempting, right? So you always want to remove temptation when you talk about self-control. Don't put yourself in situations where you know that you don't have the capability to resist, right? Where you don't have the capability and you know you're going to fall. I use food because that's one that we all may struggle with in some form or fashion, right? We all have our favorite dish. We all have something that we love that we could probably eat in excess of. But when we're talking about having self-control, we want to be able to make sure that we build a healthy habit that allows us what? To control our emotion, control our desire, right? Even when it's something that seems difficult. Okay, so you got to think about in ways to help improve your self control. Number one, you have to remove temptation. Will somebody be a scribe for me today and just write that down? Remove what? Temptations, right? So because I'm not wired to consistently resist temptations, I have to be aware of when temptation is around, right? Aware of when temptation is coming, right? So I have to know when temptation is coming, what steps do I need to take, right? So I have to make sure that I'm looking at those areas and I'm identifying what's temptation for me, okay? Anytime if I know that I'm going to be dealing with self-control, that I need to recognize, maybe you like to stay up late and you need to go to bed, right? You need to have self-control to set yourself a bedtime and say, you know what? No, I'm going to consistently make myself go to bed. Don't watch your favorite show, late at night when you know it's time for bed. So self-control is many areas in our lives that we need to bring discipline to, right? We may feel like, we're not self-controlling even in our time, right? How we manage our time, how we function in our day. Do we leave space for, a lot of things to operate or to happen? We have to be so mindful in our ability to control ourselves that we make sure that we're keeping to the true us, the core value of who we say we want to be. And if we want to be in a particular, operating in a particular role, then it's so important that we put ourselves in that position so that what we can remove temptation from our lives and we can discipline ourselves, right, to make sure that we have self-control. All right. Number two is going to be to measure your progress. Anytime I want to control myself or have self-control, right, over my emotions, over my desires, right, or the expression of them in my behavior, then especially in difficult situations, I want to make sure that I do what? Measure my success or my progress. Number two, measure my progress. So anytime that I'm going through a particular situation or having a particular issue, or I maybe have come out of a situation. I want to measure my progress. Listen, I love to walk every day on my treadmill. In my walking, I have to measure my progress. I started out with doing 1 mile, and then it was consistently saying, okay, I need to do 1.25 miles, then 1.5 miles, then 2 miles, now a little over 2 miles. So you have to literally measure your progress and make sure that you're intentional about it, so that you recognize where you are, and then you recognize how much control you're having over a particular area, so that you continue to progress, right? You continue to go forward in controlling yourself, controlling your eating, controlling your exercise, right? Controlling temptation. So number one was remove temptation, right? Number two is to what? Measure your progress, right? Number three is to learn how to manage your stress levels, okay? And this is very important. When you think about self-control, right? Self-control definitely deals with your emotions, right? It's going to deal with your emotional state. So when we talk about self-control, you have to make sure that you learn how to manage your stress level, meaning that you don't want to put yourself in situations where you're consistently having high stress levels. You're consistently having levels where there's increase, of stress all around you, and you're not having a purpose or a plan or way to decrease that stress, right? So it's very important. If I'm going to have a way to help improve my self-control, then I have to have a way to manage stress, right? And so remember what I said earlier, you have to remove temptation and you have to measure your progress. But then number three, you have to learn how to manage stress. So if I'm learning how to manage stress, then literally I have to recognize what brings stress, right? What are the areas in my life that bring stress consistently to me, or what areas in my life are having stress in my life, so that I can manage it, so I can know, okay, I need to remove this particular thing from the picture. I need to get away from this particular person, this particular situation, maybe something on my job, it may be something with my family, it may be something with my spouse, it may be something with my children, right? But I have to learn how to manage the stress, which means that I have to put myself in a position to make sure that I have control over my emotions, right? If I'm going to literally improve my self-control, I have to have control over my emotions. My emotional state is very crucial to how I will respond in controlling my body. So if my emotional state is not in proper alignment, then many times my body will be out of alignment. If my emotional state is not functioning in the proper alignment that I'm supposed to be in, then my body is also going to what? Be off in alignment. It's going to be hindering the fulfillment of what needs to happen. Why? Because I'm not going to be chemically balanced. I'm not going to be physically balanced, right? And I'm not going to be emotionally balanced. So self-control is so powerful that I need to be in the positioning to understand how self-control works. And then I want to put myself in a positioning that I take the steps to discipline myself, discipline my emotions, so that I can manage my stress, right? How many know if you're pressuring to get to a particular place and say you have to be there at 1 o'clock, and you know that you're leaving your house at 12:45, well, you're putting stress on yourself. Why? Because there could be an accident, there could be traffic, there could be long lights, anything can happen. So you need to give yourself space to leave earlier than 12:45. Why? So that you can get there and have peace, right? Because if not, you're putting stress on yourself. So self-control, maybe I have to get up earlier, or I may have to prepare myself the night before to manage the stress level in my life. I may have to do something that's going to diminish the stress level in my life, so that what? I'm able to properly control my emotions. I'm able now to properly control my desires, right? I'm in position that now I'm able to handle my behavior in a particular way that challenges or changes rather my response in difficult situations. I mean, no, it is not easy to have self-control. Many times people think that they have self-control until a difficult situation comes about. And so the reason why we're talking about self-control, because we need to have self-control in these multiple areas. Remove temptation, number one. Measure your progress, number two. Learn how to manage stress, number three. And then number four, we have to prioritize things. All right. So every day, before you wake up for the next day, you want to do what? You want to prioritize what is the most important thing I have to get done for the next day? What is the most important thing that has to happen? Outside of, maybe it's your job, but maybe it's outside of your job. You have specific things that you know have to be accomplished daily, right? And so you have to prioritize things, right? If I'm going to have self-control and I'm going to make sure that I accomplish everything that I'm supposed to do in a particular day, then I need to make a list, right? I need to make a list. List down specifically what it is that I need to do in that particular day and make sure that it happens, right? Make sure that it manifests. Make sure that it's going forward to fulfill what needs to be done. That will be the most powerful thing when you have understanding of how to prioritize, right? Because self-control is all about prioritizing what's best, right? Prioritizing what's first and prioritizing what's last, right? Because why? You want to have the ability to control yourself and your emotions, right? Control your desires, right? You want to be able to make sure that you're in position so that nothing is taking you off course. So anytime something is not prioritized, it gives space for what? You to not have self-control. When something is not in priority, then it gives space for what? You to be able to now go off in different desires or wander in your mind or wander in your behavior, right? Or wander to respond to things that maybe you should not respond to. So prioritizing things is very important in self-control, making sure that I don't leave big gaps on my schedule, right? That can be idle, big gaps that can cause me to not have self-control, big gaps that can lead me to just doing nothing or wasting of time, right? So I need to prioritize things in their order and how much they mean to me, right? To make sure that I'm in alignment with keeping my body, right? My emotions, my desires, everything in proper alignment for what is purposeful at that time. All right. So I want to make sure what's purposeful. What is it that I need to accomplish? What is it that I need to do? And when I'm prioritizing things, very important that I don't do much at once. All right. If I'm prioritizing and I'm having self-control, don't try to take on too much at once. Try setting small, achievable goals, right? And focus your willpower on accomplishing those things. All right. If I'm going to really have improve my self-control, then remember I'm prioritizing, but I'm not taking on too much at once, right? You don't want to put 25 things in a day if you know you can only accomplish 12. Why? Because learn how to manage your stress, right? So prioritizing things is very important, but you want to make sure, remember that you don't take on too much at once. You set small goals, achievable goals, right? Don't put a goal that's, so far out there that's going to put stress on you, something that you can't measure, progress in, something that's going to tempt you to be out crazy, right? You want to make sure you put achievable goals and then focus on your willpower on accomplishing those particular goals. All right. Make sure if I'm going to have self-control, I got to be able to what? Plan ahead. Okay. In order to improve my self-control, my prioritizing and planning is so important. All right. So you always have to plan ahead. You have to continually plan ahead. Plan, 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 right? Make sure that I'm putting things in alignment. Why? So that my emotions and desires or expressions of them, right, don't, get off course. All right. So I want to put myself in position, making sure if I'm having self-control, number one, ways to improve your self-control and build good habits, right? That's what we're talking about today. Number one, remove all temptations, right? Because you're not necessarily just wired to, automatically just walk away from temptations. And you got to focus on removing things. things. Become aware and remove whatever is temptation for you, whether that's food, whether that's people, whatever the case may be. Remove those things from your life, right? Then you got to measure progression, right? Make sure that you know in the direction that you want to go and measure yourself slowly but surely going to the next level, right? Then number three, you have to what? Manage your stress levels, right? Don't put yourself in predicaments where you're so overwhelmed, so stressed, so bogged down that you can't even breathe, right? You want to make sure you have self-control. Having self-control is to even know when to sleep, when to get up, when to work hard, when to rest, right? When to have family time, when to not have or have alone time. You got to know all of these things, right? Then I told you number four is what? Prioritizing things, right? Making sure we put things in proper order, right? And then number five, planning ahead, making sure that I think about exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it so that I'm not overwhelmed, right? So that I'm able to go forward, all right? And then the next one, you have to be able to forgive yourself. Why would we say that? Because many times when we're talking about self-control, how many know we make mistakes every day? Every day we make mistakes. Every day we can have issues, problems. Every day there are things that come up where somehow maybe you didn't complete everything that you prioritized. Maybe you weren't able to manage your stress properly. Maybe you ate two cookies and you were supposed to eat one, right? Maybe you stayed up too late and you should have went to bed. So you have to forgive yourself, daily forgive yourself when it comes to building self-control and building good habits. Every day is a day for you to exercise your good habits. Every day is a day for you to be conscious about your decisions. Every day, if you make a mistake, if you fall and do something, if something happens, what I want to encourage you today is to make sure you forgive yourself, right? If you get off course, if you have, a day where you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like doing anything, right? I don't feel like, fulfilling everything on my list, or maybe I'm, feeling sad or grieving or whatever the case may be. Or a situation may come up that you didn't plan for. Guess what? That's why you're making sure you build good habits. So you forgive yourself, you pause in the moment, and you go back in the next hour or the next day or whatever it may take for you to get back on track. Why? Because no one else can control you but you. All right. I want you to type that in the chat today. Nobody else can control you but you, right? Sometimes people blame and say, this person did that, this person did that. No, you have the power to control yourself, right? You have the power to control your emotions. You have the power to control your desires. You have the power to control, right, your behavior, all right? So it's all about your ability to take ownership of controlling oneself, all right? It's about your ability, right, to strengthen your willpower. When we talk about self-control, it is strengthening the willpower within us to do what is best for us, all right? Strengthening the willpower within us to do what is best for us. Somebody type that. Strengthening the willpower within us to do what is best for us, right? So anytime I'm talking about self-control, it's good to get tips, right? Tips to increase your self-control. I just want to give you a couple of them today. Find a motivation on the topic, right? So if I want to do working out or exercising or something to that effect, then I need to find some type of motivation or tip on that particular thing, right? Find something that's going to give me a passion, give me a desire towards that even the more, right? I want to find motivation on the topic that I need self-control in. So if I need self-control with eating, then guess what? I want to make sure that I find something that's going to motivate me in the right direction. Maybe it's healthier recipes or healthier, things that I need to engage in. If I need motivation in my marriage or my relationship or with my children, then I want to find motivated maybe articles or other people who are having good marriages, good experiences. I want to find motivated articles about parenting. Somebody who I see that's producing great results. Maybe they've written a book or something that can help me, right? So these are ways that you can increase your self-control. Find some type of motivation on the topic. All right. Another way that you can definitely increase your self-control is to sleep well. Right? It's proven. I've read many statistics. It's proven proven that most people need between 6 to 9 hours of sleep per night, between 6 to 9 hours of sleep per night. So somewhere in between that, according to your best body type and what you need to get that proper rest. Why? Because it's going to help you have self-control. It's mostly proven when people are tired or they haven't had enough rest, that guess what? They're more cranky, they're more angry, they're more aggravated or agitated or frustrated. So you want to make sure that you get the proper night's rest. Get sleep, right? Because you're going to be sluggish. You're not going to have the feel the best. You're not going to be able to control your emotions or your desires or your behaviors, right? You may be, down, or you may start feeling, all kind of emotional things. Because why? You did not get enough rest. So sleep is very important, right? We all should spend one third of our life sleeping. All right. So God created rest. So we have to, amen, rest, right? One third of our life is sleeping. So it is very important that we do make sure that we give ourselves the proper rest. All right. Another way to increase your self-control, of course, everybody knows this, is exercise. Right? If you're going to increase self-control, then what? You exercise in the body. Make the body, right, work out. Make the body consistently, whether it's taking walks, whether it's running, whether it's jogging, whether it's doing physical sit-ups and weightlifting or whatever it may be, some type or some form of exercise is very important for you to be able to what? Have self-control. So I increase my self-control. Why? Because there's a drive that says you need to go forth and what? Exercise. And the more you exercise, how many know the more you love to do it? Initially, you don't want to do it, right? Initially, your emotion doesn't, really have the stamina or the ability to push to do it. But if you continually do it, guess what happens? It builds a good habit. It builds self-control, and it's something that eventually you want to do. You enjoy doing. All right. The next thing to increase your self-control is to get digital self-support. And what I mean by that digital self-support is you can set little alarms on your watch or your iPad or your phone or your tablet or whatever it may be. Set little alarms that say, listen, drink water. Make sure you pause and read a book. Make sure you say a prayer. Set digital support. So these things will be reminders that will help you to have more self-control. If every day at 12 o'clock you want to say a 10-minute prayer, put it in your phone and make sure, listen, every day at this time my phone goes off, time to pray. Every day at this time my phone goes off, drink some more water. Every day at this time my phone goes off, make sure you go exercise. So these are ways that can help you. Digital support, little things that can help push you into a place of self-control to consistently have these things on your calendar, on your phone, on your tablet, that's going to help push you in the right direction. All right. Most people who have self-control have better health lives, right? They have better relationships, right? They have better finances. They have what? Better careers, right? So it's very important. We need self-control even in our finances, right? How many know that you got to have self-control even in your money, right? So everything that you do, you want to make sure that you have self-control, right? You got to identify ways that you need more self-control, right? You want to make sure you're not just, wasting money, but you're spending accordingly. You understand that what you're spending is a wise behavior. It's a wise decision. You're not just splurging. Some people will shop for retail therapy is what they call it. Some people will, go eating, binge eating, and all of these things, right? That's lack of self-control. So we have to learn how to identify why, because the more self-control we have, right, the better health we have. The more self-control we have, the better relationships we have. The more self-control we have, the better finances we have. The more self-control we have, the better career we have. So it's a blessing, right? Because we want to be able to identify areas that we could consistently, right, move in self-control, right? How can we become better? All right. So I want you to make sure that you understand you need more self-control if your emotions are constantly controlling you more than you control them. All right. You need more self-control. If your emotions are constantly, controlling you more than you control them. Meaning people say, oh, that slipped out, or oh, I'm so mad, or they start saying all kind of crazy things. Why? Because of lack of self-control, right? Their emotions are running rapid. They start saying stuff that they later regret, right? And so you can't get that back. Remember, emotions are not bad, but it's how we release our emotions, right? It's how we function in our emotion, right? So our inability to get our emotions under control before we speak a thing is not good, right? Too often our emotions can mislead us down a path that becomes what? Destructive. They can, mislead us down a path that can, really push us off the grid. So we want to make sure that we take that time, take a couple of deep breaths, think about it. Okay, right now I'm not handling this right, or I need to make sure that I handle this right. So Lord, help me to have what? Self-control. So your emotions should never control you more than you control them. All right, I want you to think about that. Last thing, you got to make sure, I just want to recap because I know our time is up, and I pray that you've enjoyed it because we've shared so much, right? I want to make sure that you recognize if you have self-control, make sure that you're not a person that's resisting change. All right. When you're talking about self-control, there's always going to be change, right? So you can be so, focused on I'm comfortable with the way things are, and I feel threatened when something is going to change, right? So when you talk about having self-control, remember that means that you have to be willing to be open for change, right? You can't resist change, right? Because having self-control means that there's going to be a continuation of change that should be happening to you. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter, how long you've been here or how much wisdom you gain or what's happening. Change has to always happen, right? So when you resist change, then you recognize in resisting change, what happens is you're resisting the ability to have self-control. Why? Because self-control is the ability to control oneself, in particular to one's emotions, their desires, and their expression of their behavior, right? And then especially in what situations. So I pray that this lesson, this teaching on today has blessed you. I pray that you've learned something. I pray that you've been empowered. I pray that you've been, challenged. I pray that you've been uplifted to say, listen, I want to have better self-control. I want you to make sure you remember, remove temptation, measure your progress, manage your stress, forgive yourself, and prioritize things. I want to make sure all 5 of those things. Make sure somebody's typing them. Remove temptation, measure your progress, learn how to manage your stress, prioritize things, and forgive yourself. Why? Because you need more self-control. All right. God bless you. It's been another experience on the Deborah's Talk Show. I want you to go and share this with somebody. Somebody you know needs to talk about self-control. Somebody you know needs to hear this teaching. Somebody you know needs to know about what we're sharing on today. So I want to empower you. Remember this teaching. Work on it on yourself, and let's grow together. Have a great day. This is your host, Dr. Dewan Jackson. Remember, like, remember, subscribe, and remember, share. Have a great day.